Welcome to this segment of Pigskin Preview on KMHG, our weekly visit with the head coach of the East Texas Baptist University Tigers, Coach Mark Sartain. Last Saturday night at Ornelas, ETB losing to Texas Lutheran 44-34. And Coach, once again, the Tigers' mistakes cost them a football game.
Oh, it's very obvious. Another statistical overwhelm, yet can't overcome our own errors, and that's becoming a bit of a concern. It's something that we've got to fix. We've got to overcome that.
Well, Coach, as I look at the stats, once again, total yards 546 to 366. I mean, you won the stat category, but not the scoreboard. How do you fix mistakes that happen, like fumbles and bad snaps that go over a punter's head and he has to kick it out of the end zone for the safety, which was a smart move on his part at that point in the ball game? How do you correct that?
Well, you just keep doing what you've been doing because we work on them every day. We work on ball security drills every day. We snap 100 snaps a week in practice. Chad Bauer's been our deep snapper now for 2 years, and that's the first errant snap he's had in two years. Who's to say how that occurred or why that occurred? If what we're doing is sound, we keep rehearsing it and we keep emphasizing it, and we take extra measures in certain situations. But we've worked those things in the past for those reasons, and we'll continue to do that.
How's the team responded from the loss? How has practice been going?
Well, we had a real good practice. We changed our weekly format this week. We went from giving the young men Monday off to giving them a Sunday completely off, and that's kind of got us in a different mode, a different gear. We had a very productive Tuesday practice as opposed to the one last week, where we kind of, after a couple of days with no issues, no contact, no physical activity, we were a little bit stale. And coming off a JV game the night before, everybody's wanting a day of rest. So we changed up the routine to honor God on Sunday and honor our players with a full day of rest. And we hope that'll pay off. It has physically already. So, their attitude is good. We're still smart, and it's still nauseating to watch at a video that you so overwhelmingly outmatched the team and still wind up finding a way to get beat by them.
Before we talk about tomorrow's opponent in Abilene, McMurray, the Warhawks, let's talk about Seth Harris. The conference has recognized him this week as the Offensive Player of the Week. He had tremendous numbers. He counted for 489 yards of total offense, and we just kind of expect that from Seth, don't we?
Well, I mean, it's something we should expect from him. He's a very gifted athlete, and we put the ball in his hand every time. We put the ball in his hand on every snap for a reason. They'd say, why don't you move a kid like that to tailback, or why don't you move a kid like that to wide receiver? Well, why don't you leave him at quarterback where he gets to touch the ball every snap? So, that's where we are with Sid, and he continues to produce and improve, and I think that's his second 400-yard output of his career. He was 400 yards plus against La Crosse last fall in our opener.
All right, let's talk about tomorrow's opponent. It's a road game to Abilene, a long day of travel. You leave today and you get there tomorrow. Taking on McMurray, the War Eagles. Had to change their name because of some rules. Of course, we know them as the Indians. They're a team. They're coached by Hal Mummy. They're going to Division II next year, so they have a whole different mindset this year. They're definitely going to throw the ball at you. We know that.
Well, yeah, that's an understatement. The running attack for them is almost an afterthought. Even though they're very, very proficient at it, it's just not what they choose to do as their primary, mode of attack. So, but as you do with every team, if you're a wise defensive mind, you stop the run first. Make sure that that's not going to hurt you, and you're solid there. And, of course, we've got to do some different things against a team like this in the passing game.
Your secondary definitely will be tested, but Addison McGee, even though he's short, he's able to cover some tall receivers, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Addie's a gamer, and he's a great athlete. He's a fine corner. People are going to pick on him. We know that. He knows that. And every now and then they're going to get one on him. But and they did the other night. Got one on him the other night in the end zone. He just kind of misread a young man's break and had a little bit too much ground to make up while the ball was in the air. But as he did in the first week against Wesley, denied him a 6'3" receiver a fade route in the end zone, and then drew an interference penalty from that same receiver later in the game. He's going to be there.
I brought Addison's name up because he has played high school football at Longview, one of many of the players on your squad that have East Texas ties. Let's talk a little more about McMurray. They lost last week in a heartbreaker, University of Mary Hardin, 28-27. They went for two to try to win the ball game, and the ball was intercepted. A team that loses like that, can you keep them down, or do you think they'll be more fired up to play this week?
Well, the one thing that I've learned over 29 years of doing this, and a lot of it being a head coach, is you don't plan on anyone having any less than their A game, and you don't count on them being depressed or demoralized. You don't count on anyone coming off a big game to be flat. You can't even factor that into your thinking and your plan. So, we're going to assume that it irritated them quite severely, and they're going to be at their best to try to make up for it against us.
Coach, thank you for your time this week on Pigskin Preview.
You bet.
Don't forget, Tigers tomorrow from Abilene, 2 p.m. kickoff against the McMurray Warhawks. For Pigskin Preview, I'm Mike Midkiff.